Hello and welcome to the Noizze podcast, sponsored by Stereo Brain Records and brought to you as part of the Noizze Podcast Network. This is part 2 of 4 of our Favourite Noizzes series, where our resident scholar, Will Marshall, sits down with bands to discuss their favourite album of 2022, as well as asking for a recommendation on a band that they think might do some big things in 2023. On top of that, Will does a little bit of fishing as to any upcoming plans that they might have in the near future. In this episode, Will talks to the legend that is Jamie Lenman. He talks to Rodrigo from Irist, M of Delaire the Liar, and Joe of Kurokuma. It's yet another stacked one. Just to add a shout out for our mates in Irist, they currently have a GoFundMe set up in order to try and reclaim expenses that they amassed on tour. The band lost about 20,000 as they played across Europe with Paul Bearer and Elder. It's a damning indictment of the current scene that we have and the touring scene for bands, and it's only getting harder. Every little goes a long way for bands such as Irist, and if you want incredible bands like that around, make sure to go and support them. Or even if it's giving a like, share, comment, every little helps everyone. So if there's anything that you feel that you can do, please do so. This podcast can be streamed on all major platforms and is also available on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend about us. Even a little goes a really long way. And be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Noizze Podcast Network, and keep up to date with everything Noizze on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Noizze UK. Enjoy the episode.
Well, again, thank you very much for joining me this evening. So as part of this, the first question is, what is your album of the year for 2022? I was trying to remember what year we're in.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Especially, because we've had 2 of them taken away from us, essentially. I would say my album of the year, without doubt, is an album that I can't actually pronounce the name of, which is difficult when people ask me, right?
Yes.
I think it's Bucephal. It might be Bucephali. It's by Nostromo. It's Nostromo's new record, Bucephali or Bucephal. I know the word is Bucephalus, which was Alexander the Great's horse, right? And the cover is a horse. So they're clearly talking about Alexander the Great's horse. But yes, the album is huge and an immense, well, I say return to form. They haven't made a record for about 12 years. So it's a return to everything. Return to band for Nostromo. Yeah, a very strong return to band.
Amazing. What's the kind of vibe of the record? Because it's not a band I'm actually that familiar with, because obviously it's been 12 years.
No. Sure, yeah. Well, their last full-length Eki Lex, I think, was in the mid-noughties, and it's one of the fastest, heaviest, most aggressive things I've ever heard. And the weird thing about Bucephal is that it starts, the first track, Ship of Fools, is actually very, well, for Nostromo, quite slow and atmospheric. And so you think, oh, right, they're going for a completely different sort of groove thing, and then it just goes, no, and you're like, oh my God, and then the rest of the record, it's just like, it was sort of like Nostromo as you know it, but sort of turbo-powered. They're very fast, very aggressive.
Oh, amazing. And is that I guess, what sort of genre would you say they, roughly, because obviously it's fairly meaningless, but just as a brief ballpark?
I say tech thrash.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah, so they're kind of a bit thrashy. Okay, I can vibe with that.
If Meshuggah was really fast, that's
okay.
They sound a bit like, maybe.
That, to be fair, that sounds really, really cool. I'm gonna have to check that out, because it's gone past. It's passed me by, so I definitely need to hear that by the sounds of it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, amazing. So that's Nostromo's new record, and the first in 12 years, which is quite the wait.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a musician. They're different things, man.
Yeah, who counts time signatures anyway?
Well, I mean, Nostromo. Bloody hell, you want to listen to it, mate. What? 11-9? What?
It's all 4/4 if you don't count.
That's nice. Nice one. Or 1-1. I used to play in 1-1. When I was the drummer in a tech metal band, I played it just 1-1. I was like, this, then that, then this, then that. I didn't know where I was coming or going. It's terrible.
Sounds, yeah, this is a good way of doing it, though.
Yeah.
At least you're never too confused about the beat. Amazing. So Nostromo's record for the album of the year pick. And in terms of an artist you think people should have their eye on for 2023?
I think, do you know what? I went on a tour last month. I lose track of time because the tour was a bit scattered about as well. It was only very short, it's 4 shows. And on the last night, we played a gig in Hartford where I'd never been before, either to play, or I'd never even set foot in this place. It was great. And the support acts that the promoter had picked out to play with me were called Drown. They're a 4-piece from sort of Hartford way, I think maybe slightly in between Hartford and maybe they said Roxeter to me. I might have made that name up, but they're great. They sound. I said at the time that they sounded a bit like an angry Weezer, and they've only got the one track out. If you search for More Life by Drown on YouTube, it's the picture of a shark, and man, that song has overtaken my world. And they were really great guys, and we were talking about it. They said they were going to record an EP. So, man, I cannot wait for that. Presumably that'll be out next year. And then whatever comes beyond that, I'm really excited about them. It's not often that you see a band live that it's a sad occurrence, but, you go in and completely blind, having never heard them. And then you go, wow, these guys are great. And then you go and search out everything they did and that they're nice guys as well. They're the whole package. Yeah, Drown.
Incredible. And what was the new song called again? You said, sorry.
The single is called More Life. I don't know how new it is, but it's their only thing that they've got up anywhere. So looking forward to more of that.
Amazing. Okay, so More Life by Drown is the initial, I guess, like teaser of what's coming of the life to come from that. And hopefully next year. Yeah. They sound really cool. Angry Weezer is a fantastic description.
Yeah, right. That's what everyone wants.
I've got a friend who loves like regular Weezer, so if I'm gonna put him onto them as well and go right.
Really?
Oh, fantastic. Okay, and yeah, last but not least, what's in the works for Jamie Lenman? What's coming up 2023?
2023. Well, so 2023, yeah, it's not exactly a blank page. Basically, my plans for 2023 is just to play as much live music as I can. Like I say, I did a short, we did a few festivals, and then we did a short 4-date tour. And then on December the 18th this year, we've got a big party, Lemmania in Manchester. That's going to be cool. But that's only like, 8 shows in the whole year? It's not very many at all. At all. I think fucking Nirvana played more shows this year than 8 shows, somewhere around there. But yeah, next year I want to be everywhere. So we're going to do all the festivals. I say all the festivals. We're going to do loads of festivals. There's new festivals popping up every day here in the UK. So I'm going to do as many of them as I can. I've got a few booked in already. Some have been announced. Some of them I can't say, And then I'd really like to do a more concerted, more thorough album tour, because the album came out, it was last week, I think.
Yeah, it was last week, wasn't it?
It was the 30th. So it's not even been out in a week, actually. Can that really be true? I feel like I've lived with that album for so long. Sorry, I'm derailing this question. My point is that now the album's out, I want to, and people know the songs and people have heard the songs, I really want to like go up and down the UK and stop in every single town and play all of those songs to people because, the reaction's been great. People want to hear them live and my band is fucking sick, So I want to play them live. People want them. I want them. We dovetail in the middle. I'm going to do loads of shows. There's going to be an album tour, but I don't know exactly when yet. Probably kind of springtime, My people are working that out. I got people. Watch out. I got mans.
You got people and you don't want to say the wrong thing.
No, I don't. Yeah, right. That's the
and neither do we, It's like if we say the wrong people, you send your people around.
Will happen. I am Jamie who? That's how I have to be these days. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, we look forward to that. So thanks so much for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know you've got a lot on your plate at the moment. So what I'll do is we'll just dive straight into it. So first of all, if I could please have your album of the year for 2022.
My album of the year of 2022 is Wiegedood, There's Always Blood at the End of the Road. That album I think came out in the beginning of the year, January, and it was probably it's probably top 5 best black metal albums of all time, if I can call it that, and that's just because I think it's relentless. It never stops. Like it starts really heavy and fast, and there's not one moment of a break, and it still doesn't make you feel like it's boring or anything. It's not repetitive or anything. I never got tired of it, and it just keeps the edge on and on and on. So that's basically the reason why I think this is like it's a back-to-back kind of thing to a listen. Like when you start listening to it, like from the first to the last song, like there's not a moment where the album makes you like lose it, and it just flows really well, and it never ends. Like the aggression never ends, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great pick. It's really high praise for you to say that's like one of your top 5 black metal records ever, because there's some incredible black metal out there. But I've got to agree, like this is one of the best. Maybe what I don't know about all time, just because I'm still relatively new to the genre in a lot of ways. But like certainly in the last few years, I don't recall a black metal album as furious and as like you say, just unstoppable. It just goes and goes. Not one speed, but like it's all the same level of intensity. But it never feels over like it's wearing you down in terms of like you're never just like, oh, for God's sake, give me a break here. It's always just like it's just this onslaught, and then it finishes, and you're like, oh shit, where did that entire time go? So Wiegedood, There's Always Blood at the End of the Road is a fantastic shout. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're one of the bands in the Church of Ra, are they not?
They are, yeah, they are. I think the whole Ghent scene, we're all huge fans of the whole Church of Ra scene, and actually Brutus also had like an album come out, even though they might not be in the same exact scene, but they all know each other there. They're all in Ghent, so they also have a great album. But yes, we are all huge into that that scene, and we have been for a while. And I also, now that you're saying that about it being like a black metal album, I don't, maybe when I was much younger now, but since my late 30s, I'm in my 40s now, but since my late 30s, I don't recall a black metal album that I have listened back to back so often for so long. Like I can't recall. Probably did that more in my 20s than any other time. But after a certain age, for some reason, it was not like premeditated or anything, but I don't recall listening to a black metal album for so long and so often as I did with this one, because this one was just amazing. And I can still do it. I started listening not in January when it came out, and haven't stopped ever since. And every now and then I still play it back to back, and I don't think you'll ever leave it.
Yeah, it's a great record. Definitely best experienced, like you say, is like a whole. But if you had to pick one song that you think would like to get someone into Wiegedood, or at least, There's Always Blood at the End of the Road, what would you kind of pick as your top song from the record, if you have one?
Probably the very first one, Scar 41, I think it's called, because that's actually what got me into that initial, FN Scar 16, that's how it's called. It's just that riff, that circular nature of that riff, that repeats a lot and never really goes anywhere. It's just like it's like really, really aggressive and repetitive. And actually, it's in talking about something being like circular and repetitive, we all like, and especially Pablo and I in the band, we all like this, bands that have this, what we call like a circular sound, that things repeat a lot exhaustively, and we feel like it gives like a heavier atmosphere to things, makes everything like darker and nastier in a way, almost like in a nihilistic kind of way. So we really like it, and I think that song is a perfect first song because it traps, it gets listeners to listen to the whole thing. But yeah, that song, and I think I have another one too that I really like. It might be Until It Is Not, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it might be Until It Is Not. Yeah. And those two, I think, might be my favorite. But the first one is definitely what caught my attention. And then the whole album never really let it sleep.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got FN Scar 16 as sort of like the main, like you said, that intro track that really just grabs you. Because, like you say, it's so easy, and the thing is, it's so easy, right, for something that's cyclical to seem boring, and they just don't do that at all. Like it's constantly, just because it's so aggressive, you just can't escape it. So okay, so that's Wiegedood. There's Always Blood at the End of the Road as your album of the year. If we look ahead to say 2023, because somehow we're already there nearly, who would you say is the one band that you think people need to be paying attention to? If like, obviously there's so many great ones like emerging now. Who's kind of like your pick for like someone that you think's really gonna own 2023?
I was when we were touring, like we played a festival in Switzerland, Up in Smoke, and it was excellent. And I of course didn't have the opportunity of listening to all the bands that were playing that day. We knew some of them, of course, but we didn't have a chance to learn about all of them on tour. Life's crazy and whatnot. But then there was a concert outside, and I noticed a lot of people were going there, and then I went there too to watch that. And it was a band from Bergen, Norway, called Slomosa, and I absolutely had a blast in that show. And then I started digging deeper, and apparently they're fairly bigger in Europe than in the US, and I don't know in the UK, but in the US they're definitely I don't think many people know them there, but in Europe they're like people were really excited to see them, and I could see why. I think those guys have a lot of potential. Even exchange a few words with them and give them compliments, because I think those guys have everything that a band needs in order to really blow up. So I think they, if I were to continue to track and look at a band, and I think that band is going to do really well, and it's a band that is has ground to cover, but it has everything that it takes to to cover that ground. That would be a band from Norway called Slomosa. I don't know how many people are familiar with those guys, but I think they have a lot of potential.
Amazing. I can't say I'm personally familiar, but that doesn't mean that they're not like bigger news outside of my kind of normal sphere. What would you say like the vibe is kind of sonically? What would you say they kind of sound like?
Kind of, there's sludge. Yeah, very sludge, but with clean vocals. The vocals are really cool because they're very belty, and the songs are very repetitive too. Very repetitive, but it's I think that was the biggest proof to me that the band was really good and different in many ways, because even though the music was repetitive, it felt good listening to them like throughout. But yeah, like vibe wise, more sludge and pretty easy on the ear, to be honest. But yeah, the guys are like just dress really casually. There's no gimmick or anything. People who like doom and sludge, and normally I would say it would be their crowd. And it's I know a lot of people, I wouldn't say it's in fashion to sound like that necessarily, but there are a lot of bands that do that nowadays, and these guys stood out in my opinion.
Okay, amazing. Slomosa. So I've actually just had a quick look. So it looks like they've only released I think I'm spelling it right, as Slomosa. Looks like they've only done one album, and that was in 2020. So great shout. Really, really keen to hear some more of them. I'm going to check them out afterwards, actually, because doom and sludge is very much up my street. Last but not least, then we're going to talk a bit about, of course, your band, Irist. You've just released a new EP, Gloria. It's kind of, I would say, in a looser sense, like this is one for the post metal fans, right? If you like post metal, this is really definitely going to be something you're into. So let's talk Irist, and what have you got coming up now that the EP's out?
Well, we're still like our heads are spinning because of the tour still. We had a really long tour with Paul Bearer and Elder, which we, absolutely love. But it was also a very exhausting experience too, because it was our first ever European tour. I was almost 2 months on the road, but as a band, we were like a month and a half. I had to come from Brazil to go to the US first. We did a couple shows there and practiced a lot, had a new drummer. So there was a lot of things at stake, and we still, went out on tour and lost a lot of money, to be completely honest with you. Because as many people are saying, like, touring makes less and less sense nowadays because the cost of everything is just so incredible. But thankfully we got some help, and it's helping ease the burden on us. So right now we are like, we have music that we, working on it a little bit to release a new album. We could if we wanted to, but right now we're like taking a break from the whole thing. If you ask me personally, and I don't speak as the whole band, but me personally, we'll probably have some material to release, something at the end of the year. If that's going to be another EP or an album, that might be up to discussion. But we do have music coming up. I would say that in my estimations here, we would release music probably towards the end of the year. But then again, things change a lot, and you might get offers for another round of shows. It's hard to tell, but there should be. That's a good way to put it. There should be music next year.
Amazing. Okay, so yeah, hopefully some new music next year, depending, like you say, on how things fall with tour packages. Whether you guys go out on the road again, whether you're happy and it's all ready. And of course, you mentioned a minute ago that you've. Because I did want to pick up on this, actually, because it's something that I'd like to draw attention to see if, because you guys lost, you say a lot, like it was an insane amount of money that you guys ended up losing, which sucks, because, and touring, as you say, is horrifyingly, because there's no real other way, right, of a band making money than touring and selling merch, and it's making less and less sense to tour. So like, how are you meant to keep that up on the road, So I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a GoFundMe. If it's open, when the time this episode goes live, we'll make sure to link to it. So if people can do, they can maybe see if they can help out the band just a little bit, because that was a rough hit when you guys got home from such a good tour.
Yeah, and I mean, and we were even doing things like we were driving ourselves to save money. We were like, trying to save as much as possible in so many other ways. We had to, hire a drummer because our drummer left. So that's an expense that we can't just, ignore. We have to, take care of that. But we did all we could as far as like ways to try to save money. But it's just the way the world is after this pandemic. It's just a bizarre, and the music industry, I think even bigger bands were like having to cancel tours. And for us, they were just, kind of starting now. It's a little bit, it's even more complicated, but we're going to continue to do it because that's what we love doing. And we just hope that things get better so we can only do that. Of course, we all have our jobs and stuff, or else we wouldn't be able to make it. But yeah, we hopefully one day we'll be able to do this full time, and then have even more time and dedication, and I wouldn't say dedication, but time and effort. Not even effort, I would say time, and how should I say, really time to spend on things and actually get our brains to be used in the most optimum kind of way to write music. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of is dedication, right? It's time to dedicate to the band,
Yes, exactly.
It's not that you're not dedicated to it now, it's that you can't dedicate as much as you want to, because it's not something that's right now your full-time thing. Maybe one day, that's the dream, right? Is music full time, for so many of us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, thanks so much for your time this evening. It's been a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much. Well, yeah, it's great. It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for joining me on a Saturday morning, of all times. Hopefully you are feeling better now, because I know you weren't earlier in the week.
No.
Yeah.
Getting
Good.
there. It's just the cold isn't helping.
No, it is. Yeah, it's freezing. But yeah, we're here to talk about, first of all, albums of the year, because it's hit December and that's all everyone's going to be talking about for the next month.
Woo.
And then we're going to start talking about, obviously, what next year brings, both for bands you think people need to be keeping an eye on and what your band are doing. So if we start, first of all, with the big one, what's your album of the year for 2022?
My album of the year for 2022 is Rouge Carpet Disaster by Static Dress, because they are quite literally one of the best bands I have found in a very long time. And I feel a little biased because I do know them, but also I've seen them so many times this year, and every time, like live or just on the album, completely blow me away. And yeah, big fan. Very big fan.
Yeah, they're an interesting one, Static Dress, aren't they? Because like they have so much of an idea already of exactly what the band is, and they've got such a strong visual identity as well. And that's I don't know loads about the album, I admit, but I have listened to it a few times. It's really good. But it does have that overarching theme, does it not? There's definitely like a constant thread that runs through everything they do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like that's part of the reason I love it so much. It's like not only inspiring for like our band in terms of like, I don't think I've ever seen a band with such a strong visual, like, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but like just such like an insane level of details in the visuals, which is then put into the live shows as well. And like just their whole timeline of what they've been doing as a band, I think has just been really cool to watch and like see evolve slowly. And I'm getting the hint that there's something going to be happening in the works, given the show in August at Underworld and everything that they did was the end. So I'm just really excited to see what's cooking.
Nice. Now, musically, I heard these described as Gen Z Glassjaw, and I know it's a bit reductive, but it's not a million miles wrong, is it?
It's not a million miles wrong, no. But yeah, I think I don't even know what to say. Like, I agree with that statement, but I also think that they are unique in their own way. And I think what they're doing in terms of their overall image and what they're putting out into the world, I think is really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I think the comparison was more musical, because they're very much in that vein of like the post-hardcore that Glassjaw were sort of working in. But yeah, there's a whole host of stuff that goes on around it, especially, thematically, visually. And like I say, that show at the Underworld, which I sadly couldn't go to, but I heard that was a whole, almost like a story, almost like a stage production that you'd get.
I wasn't there either, but from what I heard, it sounded amazing. And with the whole hashtag number thing that I still can't figure out that code. I swear, like every single time they put something up, there's like a code attached to it, and I always want to figure it out, but I'm just not quite smart enough.
Maybe it's all building towards something that'll actually make sense later.
Maybe.
Which, to be fair, wouldn't surprise me, because they do seem like they've got a lot of forward vision on that as well.
There's always stuff cooking in there,
All right, so album of the year, Static Dress, Rouge Carpet Disaster. Definitely a good one for people to be checking out if they're into, as I say, like that sort of Glassjaw neck of the woods with their own, of course, like 2022 spin on it. It's not just it's not just exhuming like Worship and Tribute again. Okay, so looking ahead to 2023, what's one band you think people need to be keeping an eye on and watching out for next year?
I reckon my go-to band for this question would be my friend's band in Negative Measures. They're based down in Brighton. They're a hardcore band. They've been going since, I think the first time I saw them was in 2015. They played my mate's house party, and it was possibly the rowdiest thing I've ever been to in my life. Like, I mean, everyone can imagine exactly what a small hardcore show in someone's living room is going to turn out like, but it was absolute chaos in the best way. And like they've just been going ever since and absolutely killing it. And they recently put out an EP with Other Half, which is incredible, and like their own EP. And there's a song called I Don't Owe You Anything, which is banging. It's so good. And yeah, I have a feeling that that's really gonna take off next year.
Nice. Hardcore's in a really good spot at the moment, not just like overseas, but like the UK seems really getting a lot of love, which is nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially down in Brighton, like my mate Oscar, shout out Oscar, who's Burning Water Promotions. They're absolutely killing it down in Brighton. Like there's hardcore shows all the time, and like some really, really fucking good bands coming out of there. Sorry if I can't swear. Good bands.
It's fine, honestly. Okay, so we've got Negative Measures, hardcore. In terms of hardcore, then, because and there's so many different strains of it now. There's everyone like from Vane's metallic hardcore and Nihilism to like Scowl, who are like almost more of a punk band. Where would you say they sort of sit musically in hardcore?
I'd say more on the punk side, like you mentioned, Scowl. Like I get similar sort of vibes.
Nice. So it's very much that sort of, I guess, not quite 80s, 90s sort of, but definitely that very much punk inflected side of it.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. Okay, so we've got Negative Measures as the band to watch out for, and they're from Brighton.
Yeah.
Are they? I'm assuming they're on like Bandcamp, Spotify, etc. for people.
Oh yeah, they're on all the usual spots.
Good. Okay. And last but not least, then we're going to talk about your band, Delaire the Liar. You said, you did say before we started, you've had something of a quiet year this year, but you did put out an EP last year, wasn't it? Now
we did. It was actually a year ago today.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, happy anniversary to
anniversary today. Yeah, it's been great this year so far. It's been a little quieter towards the end of the year, but that's not to say that doesn't mean we're not preparing for next year. That's all I can really say.
Well, you've got a few things lined up, you said. I know you've already been announced for 2000 Trees.
Yes.
At
the moment, we've got 2000 Trees in summer and Loomfest in April, which is going to be amazing. I'm really, really excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Loom. Actually, I saw when that announcement got released. I just thought, you know what, that's gonna be really cool. Actually,
it's such a good lineup so far. I'm well excited.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Like the ones that have been announced are really, really good. Because I think Dream State are playing as well. And
yeah, I'm so excited to see Dream State again. It's been so long.
I never got to see them on the first go round because I was at Download 2018. I interviewed them there, and I was meant to go see their set, but it clashed with another interview I was doing.
No.
So I sent one of my friends instead, and he said it was amazing. But yeah, I wish I'd seen them then, but I'm going to make up for it this time round.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got Loom, and we've got 2000 Trees.
Yes.
And assuming you're working on other stuff as well.
Yes.
Just not quite.
Things are cooking.
Nice.
And that's all I can say.
Fair enough. Well, that's everything then. Well, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, what is your album of the year for 2022?
So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the one I've listened to the most, but it's kind of the one that's perhaps the most fun to talk about and impressed me the most. It's Black Fellflower Stream by Sunrise Patriot Motion, which is quite the tongue twister.
It is. So what's their vibe? Why is it your album of the year?
So I think basically the easiest way to describe it, it reminded me a lot of Killing Joke. And actually there's a really good blurb on the Bandcamp page. Sometimes these blurbs are a bit like wanky, but this one actually nails it. And I could just read that, to be honest, because it says, Black Fellflower Stream finds surreal new territory at the edges of heavy metal and gothic rock, with the odd tensions of Killing Joke and the desperate pop undulations of Life, Lover, Kino, and the Snake Core. And then it says it sounds like Motorhead playing outdoors a valley away. And I think that's a pretty good description, yeah.
To be fair, that sounds fucking killer.
Yeah, and it just draws you in straight away. And so, yeah, I gave it a listen, and I've been listening all year, yeah.
So when did that come out then?
Let's see. Well, June, so not all year, but
June.
ever since it came out, yeah.
Okay. And what would you say is like your favorite thing about the record?
It's different, and it's not often you can say that, I don't think, anymore. You know, it like the description says, it's pulling from gothic rock, it's pulling from black metal a lot, although that is more of a subtle influence. Yeah, it just there's like a chord change in the first song in like the first 30 seconds, and it was just so unexpected. Yeah, it was just something that really reminded me how creative metal can be, and yeah, just the fact that it's different and it nails it at the same time. Like I say, it's, for me, that's a rarity, but it kind of guarantees that I'll listen for the whole way through.
How is it you came across it? Was it just like a random Bandcamp find then, or?
I think it was one of them where it was like I saw it in a few different places. Like I think I probably saw it going around Twitter, and then I saw a few reviews, and then my friend, kind of one of my friends on Facebook, whose music taste I trust, posted it, and I was like, you know, once you've seen it a few times, you're like, go on then, I'll check it out. And yeah, it was definitely worth it.
Nice. Oh, that's really cool. What would you say is, so if we kind of pick a favorite track from it?
Yeah. I would say the first, hang on, my mum's gonna walk through the we're just doing a podcast. You can walk through, just don't talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. What was the question again?
Favorite song? What would you say your favorite song on the record is?
I think the one that like represents. Are you gonna play a song? Or
No.
no, you know, okay. I would say the first track, Sunrise Labyrinthian, that kind of represents the sound of the whole album. And like I was saying, as the first track, that's the one that really hooked me, and it starts off
Right.
with like a vague synth sound, and then you get the guitars coming in, and there is a lot of kind of dungeon synth style stuff. There's a couple of dungeon synth interludes on this. So you've got the normal tracks, and then a couple of interludes as well. Yeah.
Nice. Because it seems like, especially like on Bandcamp, underground metal's had a real resurgence of creativity this year. So that's really fucking cool to hear about, like dungeon synth post-punk almost.
Yeah, it's a great combination. Like I say, you know, a lot of dungeon synth, it's often just the interludes, and then the rest of the album might be just full on black metal or whatever. But the cool thing about this album is the synths are kind of present throughout the rest of the songs as well. So I don't know, the dungeon synth thing, to me, sometimes it feels a little disjointed in the way the styles can change between tracks. But in this one, because the synths there throughout, yeah, it makes for a much kind of smoother journey and a better end product, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. Okay, so that's the album of the year piece. The next one that we want to hear from you, who's your band you think people should be looking out for in 2023?
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be talking about this, so I'm literally just coming up with someone off the top of my head right now. But I would probably have to say, have you heard of Guilt Trip?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I say that, I mean, I know they've got a new album coming out on Malevolence's record label, who are another band from Sheffield. That obviously, I know them a bit and I follow what they do. And yeah, I've been listening to the Guilt Trip stuff and digging it. It's just really good, like hardcore. And yeah, as they've got that new album coming out, you know, the Malevolence boys know what they're on about. So if it's coming out on their label, it should be a decent one, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for a band that sort of cut their teeth, calling themselves the kings of the underground for what, 10 years. And given that they've only really shifted into that sort of groove metal territory, I guess, in the last EP to record,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd hope they know a thing or two. And hardcore's having a massive resurgence right now as well, isn't it? So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so great to see what Malevolence have been doing, you know. Yeah, they, like you say, they've been doing it for ages, and they had that massive underground following. I think Guilt Trip are maybe kind of following in their footsteps, maybe in a way. So that's exciting to see from.
What sort of neck of the woods of hardcore would you kind of park them in? Because there's a few different strains at the moment.
There are thrashy elements to it. I don't know what you call it, metallic hardcore, or I don't know, thrashy hardcore or something like that. But
All right,
yeah,
maybe a little bit crossover.
yeah, I guess, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, for crossover fans, that's definitely one to be looking at then. And obviously, like you say, metallic hardcore. Yeah. And last but not least, talk to us about your plans for 2023 with the band. What are you up to?
Let's think. Yeah, so we put out the debut album earlier this year, Born of Obsidian, and next year I think we're going to be recording the next one, which a few people have been surprised at because we took so long, like literally 7 years for the first one. But it's just a case of once we've done it once and it's out there, I don't know, the juices have just started flowing, and we thought, why not do another one? So that's going to get recorded hopefully first half of next year. And then we've got a few kind of pretty big dates coming up, stuff that's unannounced yet, but yeah, some big festival appearances. And we've just got a new bassist, so we're trying to break him in at the moment while doing all this stuff. We're off to Iceland actually at the weekend, and that's going to be a bit of a baptism by fire for him. But yeah, I think we're all looking forward to next year and getting some stuff done. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Thank you very much.
No worries.